me tell you something that might sting a little, but it's the kind of truth that sets you free. Everything in your life is your responsibility. Not everything is your fault, but everything is your responsibility. There's a big difference. And the moment you embrace that difference, your life will never be the same. See, most people are stuck in a cycle of blame, blaming their parents, their boss, the economy, their past, their genetics, you name it. But here's the reality. The more energy you spend blaming, the less power you have to change. Every second you use pointing the finger is a second you're not using to take control. And the moment you give up control, you give up freedom. That's the truth. Now, I get it. Life throws stuff at us that we didn't ask for. People betray you. Opportunities fall through. You grow up in an environment that didn't support you. It's not fair. But here's the key. Life isn't fair, and it's not supposed to be. Life doesn't reward fairness. It rewards responsibility. It rewards the people who look at the mess and say, you know what? I didn't create this, but I'm going to clean it up anyway. Because owning your lifely, that's when things start to shift. That's when real growth begins. You can't change something you don't own. If it's always someone else's fault, then guess what? You're powerless to fix it. But if it's yours, if you take full ownership, then the power is back in your hands. And power in your hands is where it belongs. Responsibility doesn't mean carrying guilt or shame, let's be clear. Guilt is about the past. Responsibility is about the present. It's saying, okay, maybe I made some choices I'm not proud of. Maybe I didn't know better, but I know better now. And from here forward, I'm in charge. That's where your power lives. That's where your transformation begins. It's so easy to wait for the apology, to wait for things to get better, to wait for the right moment. But waiting's a trap. You don't need permission to take your life back. You don't need someone to say, hey, now it's your time. It's already your time. It's always been your time. You just have to decide. And when you do, things start to shift. You stop looking for excuses and you start looking for solutions. You stop dwelling on what's missing and you start maximizing what's in front of you. You stop playing defense. That's the shift. That's the mindset of someone who owns their life. So let me give it to you straight. When you own your responsibility, you'll stand out, because most people aren't doing that. Most people are still in denial, still blaming, still avoiding. But when you show up with this energy, when you walk into a room and say without words, I own who I am, I own where I am, and I own where I'm going, people feel that. And more importantly, you feel that. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and you become a creator of your reality. And I know what some of you might be thinking, but you don't know what I've been through. You're right, I don't. But I know this, your story is not your excuse, it's your power. The worst things you've been through, those are the very things that can make you unstoppable if you choose to own them instead of hide behind them. Your responsibility is your superpower. The more of it you take, the more freedom you gain. Freedom to pivot, freedom to evolve, freedom to rise. It doesn't matter where you started. What matters is what you do next, and that's always in your hands. Always. So let today be the day you stop waiting for someone else to change. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions. Stop waiting for someone to hand you the life you want. It's not coming. It's on you. But that's the good news, because that means you don't have to wait one more second. The moment you decide to own everything, the pain, the past, the future, that's the moment everything begins to change. It all starts with you. Let's get real about something most people don't want to hear. What you feel like doing is almost never what you need to do. We're living in a world that worships feelings. Do what feels right. Follow your heart. Trust your gut. Now, don't get me wrong, intuition is powerful, but when it comes to building a life that actually means something, when it comes to real growth, success, peace, fulfillment, you can't just do what feels good. You've got to do what's right, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Discipline will take you places desire never will. Desire is easy. Anybody can want something. Anyone can wish for greatness, dream of success, hope for change. That's cheap, that's free. But discipline That's the price. That's what separates the ones who talk about it from the ones who live it. You think the most successful, fulfilled people in the world always feel motivated? Absolutely not. What they've mastered is the art of showing up, no matter what. They've learned to train themselves to take action, even when it's inconvenient, even when they're tired, even when the emotion isn't there. Because here's the truth, your feelings are unreliable. If you only act when you feel like it, your results will always be inconsistent. But when you act based on commitment, based on standards, you take back control. There's a part of you right now that wants to grow, that wants more, that knows there's another level, but there's also a part of you that wants comfort, that wants to sleep in, that wants to scroll, that wants the path of least resistance. And every single day, those two parts are battling it out. And the one that wins is the one you feed. Discipline isn't punishment, it's freedom. It's not about restricting your life, it's about designing it. It's about saying, I know what I want long term, so I'm willing to do what's necessary now. Because if you're not sacrificing for what you want, then what you want becomes the sacrifice. That's the deal. Think about it. You say you want to be healthy, but the donut feels good right now. You say you want to build something great, but procrastinating feels easier today. You say you want deep, meaningful relationships, but it's more comfortable to avoid tough conversations. This is where people lose the game. Not because they don't want it, but because they let short-term feelings override long-term values. Discipline means getting clear on your why, and then aligning your actions with it daily. Not just when you're inspired, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's tough. Because every time you follow through on what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it, you build something more powerful than success. You build trust in yourself. And that's rare, that's gold. When you make a promise to yourself and you keep it, you begin to see yourself differently. You stop needing external validation. You stop comparing. You stop chasing approval because you know who you are. You know, you're someone who does the hard things, someone who rises when it's inconvenient, someone who chooses the path of growth over the path of comfort. Look, discipline isn't sexy. It doesn't get applause. No one sees it when you wake up early. No one's clapping when you say no to the distractions. But over time, those little decisions, those boring, consistent, often invisible decisions stack up into a life that others wish they had. And it's not luck, it's not magic, it's not some secret formula, it's just discipline. So the question becomes, are you willing to trade what you want now for what you want most? That's it. That's the whole game. Can you delay the impulse? Can you quiet the noise? Can you choose to lead yourself even when no one else is watching? That's when everything changes. Not when you get the opportunity. Not when someone believes in you. Not when the conditions are perfect. But when you decide to lead yourself consistently, fiercely, relentlessly. Because when you become the kind of person who keeps showing up no matter what, you become unstoppable. Do what's necessary, not what's easy. That's where the power is. Let me ask you something. Who are you when no one's watching? Not when your friends are around, not when your friends are around, not when you're trying to impress or get recognition. Me when it's just you, just silence, no spotlight. Because that version of you, that's the real you. That's the version that builds or breaks your life. It's easy to look like you've got it all together when the world is paying attention. It's easy to act kind, honest, disciplined when there's applause waiting on the other side. But what you do in the dark, that's what defines you. That's where character is forged. Integrity doesn't show up in your highlight reel. It shows up in your habits, in your decisions, in the private moments that no one else will ever see. But the real power in life comes from aligning your private self with your public image. That's when you start living with wholeness. When you don't have to pretend, don't have to perform, because who you are in the dark is just as solid as who you are in the light. That's what real confidence is made of. Not noise, not likes, not approval, integrity. The problem is we live in a world obsessed with image. Everybody's trying to look successful, sound smart, seem happy, but integrity isn't about how you seem, it's about who you are when nothing's at stake and everything is. When there's no consequence and you still choose what's right. That's rare. That's strength. See, every time you cut a corner when no one's watching, every time you say just this once, every time you think no one will know, and that knowledge eats away at you. Not always loud, but quiet, subtle. It chips away at your self-respect. And you can't live a powerful life if deep down you don't respect the person you're becoming. Now here's the flip side. When you choose integrity, even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs you something, even when it goes unnoticed, you rise. You start to build a relationship with yourself that's rooted in trust. You stop questioning your worth. You stop chasing validation. You start walking into every room with quiet confidence because you know you're living from truth. And let me tell you, integrity isn't about perfection. It's not about being flawless. It's about alignment, about owning your values, living by them, and correcting yourself when you slip, because you will slip. We all do. But the difference between the ones who grow and the ones who stay stuck, the ones who grow take responsibility and realign quickly. They don't hide, they don't justify, they get real with themselves and get back on track. That's what builds inner strength. You want to lead? Start there. You want to impact others? Start there. Because no title, no position, no level of success can cover up a lack of integrity for long. People feel it. And more importantly, you feel it. And when you've got nothing to hide, nothing to fake, nothing to prove, that's when you become magnetic. Because real recognizes real. And real starts with you being honest with yourself. The path of integrity won't always be easy. You might lose some things along the way, comfort, approval, even certain people. But what you gain is worth infinitely more. You gain peace. You gain clarity, you gain the strength that can't be shaken by outside noise. You want to live a life that feels rich, meaningful, powerful? Then stop performing, stop pretending, and start showing up as the real you, even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. That's where greatness begins. You want to know what kills more dreams than failure? Comfort. Comfort is the silent assassin. It doesn't strike loud, it creeps in. It tells you you're doing fine when you know you're capable of more. It whispers, take it easy, when you know there's work to be done. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in pressure, in challenge, in the push beyond what's a familiar. If you're not growing, you're dying. That's the truth. Life isn't static, it's always moving. And if you're standing still, guess what? You're falling behind. There's no such thing as, I'll just maintain. No, you either evolve or dissolve. You either lean into the discomfort that leads to growth, or you get left behind clinging to a version of yourself that's no longer serving you. Growth isn't always pretty. It's not always fun. Sometimes it feels like you're breaking, but you're not breaking, you're breaking through. The pain you feel when you stretch, when you challenge yourself, when you do the things you don't feel ready for, that's the signal that you're on the right track. And most people run from that. They resist it. They think if it feels hard, it must be wrong. But if it feels unfamiliar, if it stretches you, it's exactly what you need. You want real power, real freedom, then commit to relentless growth, not occasional growth. Not seasonal motivation. I'm talking about a standard, a mindset that says no matter where I am, no matter how far I've come, there's always another level. Because there is. You never arrive. The moment you think you've arrived is the moment you start declining. It's a trap. You gotta become obsessed, not with the results, but with the process, with learning, with evolving, with pushing your edge. And that starts with being radically honest with yourself. Where are you coasting? Where are you showing up at 70% and calling it 100%? Where are you telling yourself, I'm doing my best, when you know deep down there's more in the tank? You don't grow by accident. You grow by choice. You grow by doing the hard things on purpose, by seeking feedback, by asking the hard questions, by surrounding yourself with people who don't let you stay average. And most importantly, you grow by choosing progress over pride, because sometimes growth means admitting you don't know. It means being willing to be a beginner again, even after you've had success. It means being humble enough to say, I'm not done. And here's what's beautiful. When you commit to growth, everything around you starts to shift. Your relationships deepen. Your mindset expands. Your capacity increases. Because when you grow, everything in your life grows with you. Your impact, your influence, your fulfillment. That's the reward. But you've got to be intentional. You've got to wake up every day and ask, how do I get 1% better today? Not in theory, in practice. Maybe it's having that tough conversation. Maybe it's saying no to the easy path. Maybe it's learning a new skill, facing a fear, getting uncomfortable on purpose. That's where your next level lives, in the places you've been avoiding. There's no finish line to this. Growth is a way of life. It's about becoming more of who you're capable of being. And the best part, the more you grow, the more you realize how much more there is. It becomes exciting, addictive, not because you're not enough now, but because you know you were made for more. So don't settle, don't coast, don't wait until life forces you to change. Choose it, embrace the tension, chase the stretch, because the version of you that you've been dreaming about, they don't live in your comfort zone. They live on the other side of growth. Let me tell you something that most people never realize until it's too late. Your environment is shaping you every single day, whether you like it or not. You're not just influenced by what you read or what you think. You're being shaped by who you spend time with, what conversations you engage in, what energy surrounds you. It's not neutral. Your environment is either feeding your fire or suffocating it. You can have all the goals in the world, all the discipline, all the desire, but if you're surrounded by people who think small, settle for less, and constantly speak in fear and limitation, guess what? Eventually that starts to rub off. You start shrinking to fit in. You start questioning yourself. You start making excuses. Not because you're weak, but because you're wired to adapt to the world around you. That's what humans do, we adapt. So if you don't take control of your environment will take control of you. It's like this. If you plant a seed in toxic soil, it doesn't matter how much potential that seed has, it won't grow. Not because the seed is broken, but because the soil isn't right. Some of you aren't broken, you're just planted in the wrong environment. You've got the potential, the fire, the hunger, but you're surrounded by people who don't believe in you, habits that drain you, voices that keep you small, and then you wonder why it feels so hard to grow. You've got to get intentional. Who do you spend your time with? What kind of conversations are you having daily? Are they lifting you up or pulling you down? Are they challenging you or coddling your comfort? Because if you want to go to the next level, you've got to surround yourself with people who are already living there, people who challenge your excuses, people who see greatness in you even when you forget it, people who push you to stretch, to rise, to become more. And it's not just about people, it's about your physical space, your mental diet, your habits. What's on your phone? What's in your feed? What do you listen to, watch, read, scroll through every day? That's your environment too. It's not passive, it's programming you. You've got to guard that space like your life depends on it, because it does. Your focus, your clarity, your energy, they all live and die by what surrounds you. Let me be real with you. It might mean letting go of some relationships. Not out of hate, not with judgment, but with love and clarity. Some people are part of your past but can't walk with you into your future. And that's okay. Growth means shedding old mindsets, old behaviors, and yes, sometimes old connections. Not everyone is meant to go where you're going. But when you start building a powerful environment, everything shifts. You start to think bigger, you start to act bolder, you feel more alive, you feel supported, and when life throws curveballs, and it will, you've got people in your corner who remind you of your power, not your limits. This is about raising your standards, not just for yourself, but for what you allow around you. No more tolerating drama, excuses, low energy, or environments that drain your soul. You've got one shot at this life, and if you really want to maximize it, then protect your energy, build your circle with intention, and fill your space with things that remind you who you are and what you're here to do. Because you don't rise in isolation. You rise in alignment with the right people, the right habits, the right energy. Get your environment right and everything else becomes easier. Your surroundings are either a cage or a catalyst. Choose wisely. There's a truth most people run from their entire lives. Nothing changes until you take full ownership. Not partial, not conditional, not I'll own it if things go my way. I'm talking about radical responsibility, the kind that says everything in my life, everything I've created, allowed, tolerated, or ignored, it's on me. That's not blame, that's not shame, that's power. Because until you own it, you can't change it. See, it's easy to point the finger. It's easy to say, well, I didn't have the right support, or they hurt me, or the timing wasn't right. And listen, I get it. Life's not always fair. You didn't choose your upbringing. You didn't pick the obstacles that came your way. But here's the truth. Your response is always yours. Always. And in that response lies your freedom. The moment you decide, no more excuses, no more waiting, no more blaming, that's when everything begins to shift. Because when you take ownership, you stop waiting for life to get easier and you start getting strong. You stop hoping for perfect circumstances and you start mastering how you show up regardless of the circumstances. You want to build an extraordinary life? It starts with a simple, powerful decision. I am responsible for my results, not the economy, not your boss, not your past, not your partner, you. Because when you believe someone or something else is in control, you've already given your power away. You're already operating from a place of weakness. And that's the trap most people live in their whole lives. Waiting, hoping, blaming, wondering why things never change. But responsibility is ownership. It's the root of freedom. When you own your life, you get to change your life. You get to design it, mold it, elevate it. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what am I going to do about it? That's a warrior mindset. That's leadership. Let me be clear. This isn't about pretending everything's okay. It's not about denying pain or brushing off what's unfair. It's about stepping into your responsibility, your ability to respond with clarity, with strength, with direction. You don't need the world to be fair to rise. You need to stop waiting for someone to rescue you and realize that you're the one. You're the answer. Every setback, every failure, every painful season, those can all be fuel if you let them, if you stop avoiding the lessons and start learning from them. Because the lesson will keep repeating until you own it, until you face it, until you extract the wisdom from it. And once you do, you're not a victim of that moment anymore. You're the author of a new one. People think ownership is pressure, but it's actually freedom. Because now you don't have to wait. You don't have to beg for opportunity. You create it. You don't have to wish for better relationships. You become someone who attracts and builds them. You don't have to hope for better health. You create rituals that produce it. Everything becomes a choice, and with choice comes power. But most people never claim that power because they're addicted to their excuses. They've rehearsed their limitations for so long, they believe them. I'm not good at that. I've never been lucky. That's just not me. Those aren't truths, they're stories. And the second you take ownership, you start rewriting them. You stop living from your past and you start leading from your future. And here's the beauty. Once you take ownership, you start owning not just your problems, but your potential. You start realizing that if you created the mess, you can create the breakthrough. If you let things slip, you can tighten them up. If you've been surviving, you can start thriving. It's all available. But it starts with you saying, no more outsourcing my power. I'm done blaming. I'm done waiting. This is my life, and I own it. That kind of mindset changes the game. It changes how you wake up, how you walk into a room, how you treat your body, how you chase your goals. You start moving differently because you know you're in charge. And when you finally embrace that, when you live from that place every day, you become unstoppable, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's a bridge. A bridge to your power, to your future, to everything you've ever wanted but thought was out of reach. You own your life and you take back your power.